Hey y'all, you may not know this, but today, this episode you're listening to right now is our 300th episode. It is also Father's Day on Sunday. It's a pretty big week for us, and we wanted to give back. So we reached out to a bunch of cool brands and just said, listen, we don't want anything from this. We just want to make one dad's Father's Day the best ever. So what can you do? So Orca put in a cooler, Rectech Grills put in a freaking pellet grill, Oak and Bond put in some coffee, Porter Road put in some meat that you can go ahead and put on the grill, Boot Hill Blades is giving a handmade custom knife, and then Olivina Men and Gentleman's Hardware are putting in a grill and chill package. So head on over to our Instagram. This giveaway is running until Saturday night. That is Saturday the 19th at 11:59 p.m. Central Time. We will then do a live drawing on Father's Day and make some dad very, very happy this Father's Day. So it's just something we wanted to do to give back to all of you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for 300 episodes. Thank you for everything you've done. And I hope all of you have a great Father's Day. Today's show is sponsored by our friends at distilleryproducts.com. If you are a bourbon group, a store, a distillery, and you need wholesale pricing for laser etched glassware, feel free to reach out to me. I would be happy to introduce you to my friends at distilleryproducts.com. They do our glasses. You've seen our glasses. They're great, and they are at great prices as well. So feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to reach out to the folks at distilleryproducts.com. Tell them that Dad's Drinking Bourbon sent you. Today's show is also sponsored by our friends at Orca Coolers. It is Father's Day this Sunday. What better thing to give Dad this year than something from Orca Coolers? Whether or not it is an awesome tumbler, it could be one of those bourbon barrel tumblers. It could be another tumbler. They have one with dimples that looks like a golf ball. It could be a cooler. And Orca Coolers are a necessity this summer for the backyard get-togethers, lake days, and everything in between because they're roto molded. That means you could put ice in there one day, it's still going to be there 4 or 5 days later. So use code DADSEASON, that is code DADSEASON, for 20% off your order at Orca for all of life's adventures. Today's show is also sponsored by Action247.com. You want action? Get in on the action with Tennessee's only sports book by Tennesseans for Tennesseans. And guess what? Both the Tennessee Volunteers and the Vanderbilt Commodores are headed to Omaha. And with number one Arkansas out of the mix, you know everybody is looking at these two Tennessee schools to bring home the College World Series. They're going to have lines for all of the games as well as some updated futures. So keep your head on a swivel. Also in baseball, Action 24/7 now lets you bet on AAA. That means they're the only place in Tennessee where you can bet on the Sounds or the Redbirds. So check it out at action247.com. Something really cool, you can't bet on horse racing yet through action247.com, but they are going to be a sponsor of the 2021 Iroquois Steeplechase on June 26th, and they're going to have a lot of opportunities for folks to win big, giving away cash, free bets, and a $100,000 grand prize in their steeplechase free-to-play games. Make sure when you go there, you use code DADS100 and they will match up to $400 of your first deposit at action247.com. That is use code DADS100. Zeke, you got anything to start us off?
Yeah, I got one. A duck walks into an ice cream store. Says, "Hey, you got any duck food?" Guy says, "No, don't have any duck food." Duck walks in the next day. "Yeah, man, you got any duck food?" Guy says, "No, we don't have any duck food." The next day, duck walks in. "Hey, you got any duck food?" Guy says, "No. And if you walk back in here and ask for duck food again, I'll nail your feet to the damn floor." Next day, duck walks in. "Hey, man, you got any nails?" Guy says, "No. You got any duck food?"
Hello, everyone. My name is John Edwards, and with me, as always, is Zeke Baker, and together we make the Dad's Drinking Bourbon. Wherever you are, whatever time it is, thank you for making us a part of your day. Zeke, It is a very, very, very special show today for a number of reasons. So first off, I want to say that we have two of our very good friends. One of these things through whiskey that we have been very lucky about is making some really good friends and some fun relationships. And I have to say that Mike and Danny from Penelope are just two of the greatest people that we have met throughout this whole thing. We now have a text exchange in which the four of us give each other a lot of shit. And so I will preface this by saying that these are two of our very good friends. That does not influence what we think about the whiskey or what we talk about, because it is still very highly contentious between the four of us that Zeke and I were not the biggest fans of Batch 6. We both thought it was a little hot. So if you're wondering if we're still going to be honest, even with two of our best friends on this podcast, we will still be honest. The good thing for Mike and Danny is that they're growing so quickly that it doesn't matter. Batch 6 is already a memory. They're already talking about batches 7, 8, 9, 10. I know this is a very long opening for me before I kick it over to anyone else. And so the last thing I will say, I pushed this episode off. Mike and Danny thought I was kind of blowing them off. We were supposed to record last Thursday night. The reason that I pushed you off is this is our 300th episode, and there is no other two people that I would rather have this 300 episode with than Mike and Danny from Penelope. Welcome, both of you.
Boom. What? That's awesome.
Mic drop.
Congrats, guys. That's a big 300 episodes, man. That's awesome.
That was a big tease there. I was teasing you like Danny thought I was kind of like giving him the cold shoulder, and now I'm not.
Wow.
I didn't know, man.
Zeke didn't know either. He just said,
yeah. I can't believe you held out on us.
I knew I had it in my back pocket the whole time. I told Zeke earlier today, I was like, I'm going to drop this on these two, and they're probably going to be pretty amazed.
That's awesome. That's great. Yeah, Thank you. Thanks for having us.
It's awesome, man. And I got to say, man, just to follow what you said, it's been, just the friendship that we've got with you guys since we got into this has been awesome, man. And I think that's just one of the best parts about what we're doing is the people that we're meeting and that we wouldn't have met if we hadn't have done this.
One of my favorite memories about you guys is that, obviously being in the New York, New Jersey area, things were a little tighter last year than they were in other places in the country. And I remember you all came down here and we went to dinner together, and Danny was like, this is the first time I've actually got dinner in a restaurant in 8 months. Like,
dude, and then we went to a bar and you're literally like talking 2 inches from my face. I was like freaking out.
The whole plane ride home, Danny's like, I definitely have COVID.
Now, to be fair, I wasn't talking to your face. I was talking to your ear. I kind of do that like tilt to the side thing. Like if you're in Nashville long enough and you've been to the bars, you know that like you have to be a little bit louder right in the person's ear.
It was a long time since I've been that close to somebody.
Mike was spooning me, so like you had a little more distance than he did.
That was a cuddle.
That was a good time. It's always good to see you guys in person.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Zeke, we haven't even checked in with you. How are you tonight?
I was just going to simply say I feel like it's almost one of those catch-22 things where the closer friends we are, the more hell and the more subjective we're going to be. So if anybody gets our truly just blatant, honest opinion without any, should I really tell them this or that? Like, yeah, we just fly off the cuff here.
That's the way it should be, man. That's what we love about it.
Yeah, Zeke isn't nice anymore. You guys get the Zeke that I get every day, that he normally saves that for like the private chats. We're not like this Zeke that people see and they're like, oh yeah, you guys give each other a lot of shit. Like this is tame Zeke on the podcast. Now, Mike, Danny, how have you guys been? Because you have been killing it over the past year. I know last time we talked, you were moving to do a whole bunch of stuff with online retailers as people were trying to get product. Now you're at this whole other place. You released a rosé cask finish. You now have this private select program. Tell everybody what you have been doing with Penelope over the past year that has got everybody excited, because I feel like the internets are abuzz on some Penelope right now?
Danny, I mean, I don't know if you want to kick it off or you want me to. But I mean, for us, you want to go, Danny?
No, you kick it off. You do.
All right. I mean, I think when we got into this, I mean, it's been amazing. Like even our palates like have continually changed, I think that's the beauty of it. I think one of the things that Danny and I love is just is being curious about new offerings and doing different things. And, we've always had our kind of 4-grain 80 proof offering. We still do. That's been the flagship product. That's our number one seller. Then we kind of moved into barrel strength, but it's still using the same 3 bourbon mash bills from MGP. And, for us, we kind of just wanted to keep exploring within those 3 mash bills. So I think from there, we kind of started to tinker with some, that's a Zeke word, by the way, tinker. I use that all the time now. And Zeke, I give you credit for it when I use it. I love that word tinker. We started tinkering with, some different finishes, and the rosé cast just worked for our blend and what we were doing. We actually just are getting ready to release batch 2 of it. So that's actually coming out, probably should start hitting shelves July 1st. And then from there, as we built up a good rapport with MGP, we started, getting access to some really interesting barrels that they had and still within the same mashes that we used too, which was fortunate, and just started exploring. And kind of that's where the private select started to coming from. We have been experimenting with a lot of toasted barrels and different chars and toasts. I mean, heck, Danny, we just got some VDN barrels in. And I think for us, it's really just kind of continuing to see what we can do using, this 4-grain kind of offering that we've had. It's the same 3 bourbon mash bill blend since the beginning.
I think one thing that has changed since we last, I think, were on the show was we have our own distilled spirits plant now. Well, it's our warehouse, but we're able to do like R&D. We're able to keep barrels. We're able to bottle, blend, rectify. So it's really given us a chance to be hands-on with everything that we're doing, at least on the experimental level. We still do a lot down in Kentucky, but at least we can kind of be hands-on nearby. You guys got to come up soon.
We call it the warehouse, by the way. That's the name.
We go
we don't
back
like
and
the
forth.
word facility. We say,
go back and
come into the
forth.
warehouse.
Right.
Sounds badass.
But we keep saying facility. We got to go. What do you guys like better, facility or warehouse?
Probably warehouse. I think of the cable guy when somebody says facility, where he's like, Steven, what you've just asked me to do is illegal. And if convicted, you could face the fine up to $100,000 or be put in a correctional facility.
Facility.
I can't deal with the word facility.
That's
I
awesome.
agree.
That's priceless.
I think you should just rip off Warhol and call it the factory.
Ooh. Factory. The
Factory.
Bourbon house.
That's pretty badass too. I like factory.
The factory is kind of, or the plant. I guess nobody likes the plant. I mean, it's the power plant.
Awkward silence. Yeah, so
I guess
you guys
factory it
gotta come up and
is.
see it. I do like factory or warehouse. That works.
But I think it was pretty cool. I mean, Danny, I got to give him credit. For us, it's always we're trying to do things as cost effective as possible. We're, still bootstrapping this business. We've been kind of just continuing to grind since we have since the beginning. And I was like, well, Danny, can we if we're going to do it, we can't go above and beyond our means. So we would love all this kind of fancy bottling lines and automation and stuff. We got to do it really kind of where it could still be efficient, but it's got to be cost effective. And I got to give Danny credit. He built an incredible line. He built it himself. In our first 40 days in operation, we've done 10,000 bottles.
Danny, what was that like? Because, I mean, a lot of this stuff, for people that don't realize it, it's, Mike had a daughter named Penelope, and Mike had decided, along with Danny, that, all right, let's go start a whiskey brand. And I think, would you have 4 barrels in your first batch?
Six
barrels in the first batch. Batch 1, and that was the 80 proof of Penelope, had 6 barrels. And a lot of it was y'all figuring out things as you went. Danny, how the hell do you figure out how to make a bottling line? Like, did you Google and YouTube stuff? What'd you do?
Exactly. Google and YouTube. No, but I don't know. You just like we started with the 6 barrels, and then we went to 12, 15, 16, 100, whatever. Same thing with the warehouse.
The facility.
Facility.
I don't know. We just started researching, and then we've been in the industry, I guess, now for a couple of years. Like we've been around a lot of it, so you're just kind of like always looking around and figuring it out and asking questions. And honestly, putting the juice in the bottle was maybe like a quarter of the effort. Figuring out the compliance and the filing and tracking of everything that you have to do, it was probably 75% of it. But we figured it out. And like we said, we were scrappy. We just kind of got what we needed to do, what we needed to do without overspending.
Danny's being humble. Danny also built his house and did all the electrical. So Danny's good with kind of, he's an engineer. So, I mean, I think this was right in your wheelhouse. But, it's been a big thing for us because a lot of this stuff like Private Select, Toasted Series, some of the more experimental things we're doing, it's just really, from a cost efficiency perspective, it's impossible to outsource it. You can't really keep tabs on barrels that you need to check almost daily if you're in Jersey and the barrels are in Kentucky or in Indiana or Tennessee, wherever they are. So for us, we had to figure out a way to get them here.
You guys sound like slot receivers. When Danny said we had to be scrappy, how they always like mention a Julian Edelman, Wes Welker, Danny Amendola. Like, I mean, they happen to be very much
a lot of Patriots on one comment.
But that slot receiver, it's always, I mean, the Patriots were very much known for the slot receiver and putting that in the offense, but he's always scrappy. The slot receiver is always like, he's a scrappy young guy at 5'9". That's the only way he could make it into the NFL because he's not afraid to go over the middle and get his head chopped off. Which I kind of feel like you guys have been there as well. You're not afraid to go up the middle, try some new things. I remember you sent us samples of, what was it, a PX Sherry at one point and something else, and you were trying things. We were like, no. You don't have enough cast strength on the shelves. Stop worrying about this PX Sherry and stop going over the middle and getting your head chopped off. Just run the routes and get a first down right now.
I remember Mike drops things subtly. Like we'll be in a phone conversation. I'll be like, yeah, it'd be really cool if we could like bottle someday. And it's like, nah, we're doing everything in Kentucky, right? And then like you talk like a week later and he's like, yeah, we should really like bottle something. And then like he slowly like builds it up until he's like, hey, we're going to get our DSP and we're going to freaking build this bottling line. And you're like, all right, let's effing do it.
He's like, hey, we should really bottle someday. And he's like, yeah, I made this deal with the guy. I gave him like 6 cases of Penelope and he gave us an old bottling line he had. And we're just going to do that.
I got this side arrangement. I got to figure it out, Danny. We need the bottling line and we need it stat.
So he like builds it up, like, and he like, cause at first it's like, what? We're going to get a DSP and we're going to like do this whole thing. And it's like overwhelming at first, but he like builds it up and then he gets you to the point where you're excited, then like take over and get the research done and figure out how to do it. And then we get it done, it's like, it's a good back and forth. And it's like a good way of like, he's pushing me, pushing us to like keep growing.
I remember that conversation with Danny when I was talking about the DSP paperwork. And I actually looked at the online and I was like, this is a pain in the ass. Like it was just like a lot of paperwork, site maps, and just a lot of stuff. And I remember talking to Danny. I was like, dude, it's government forms. We just need to go in, you fill them out. They're going to be there. You just have to be very, very specific. But Danny, what do you think? Do you think it was a wise move getting the bottling line?
1,000%. Now I'm like gun ho. Like I don't want the thing to ever stop, just being able to like go down tomorrow and pull some sample out of this like toasted barrel and do that without flying down is amazing and priceless.
And it's helped us with our blending on our core batches by far. We've been continually, and I don't think this will ever change. I think we're always continually looking at how we're blending. Even from our blend from batch 6 to batch 7, we throttled our process.
We've gone back and forth with like our methods of blending, to be honest with you. Like, some of our early methods we changed and we started doing other methods, and we've kind of like now adopted some of the earlier methods, but blending them, but using some of the newer methods that we know. And I think it's just continually helping how we create product.
Well, it's probably almost like cooking to a fair degree. I mean, you can tell anybody, all the components, whether it be 3 different ones or if it's 20 different ones, but still there's an order and a processes of putting them in there and doing that meticulously. And there's always going to be little nuances here and there that on a piece of paper that may, not amount to 2 hills of beans, but in the real life, what you taste and see, like, well, damn.
I think it is like, I didn't realize it till Monday. Like we were down in Kentucky, we were doing an 80 proof run. We dumped a series of barrels. Like we thought that, like those were the barrels for the batch, whatever. Something happened and it all got into the tank, right? And you never know what it's going to taste like till actually it got into the tank. And then we pulled the first 10 bottles off the line and we tasted it. And it was like, no, that's not right. Something's that doesn't taste like what we were sampling, like what we thought the blend was going to taste like. And on the fly, we're able to adjust the blend because we know our mash bills so well now. It's been 3 years and we've been working with the same mash bills, and we just know exactly like what's going to do what to what. So like even by adding 1 extra barrel of a specific corn barrel, we were able to adjust the blend to get the profile that we needed, like on the fly. And I think that's something I got super excited about Monday. And that
Danny called me. Yeah, like, did it.
But I also feel like that has to be something, to jump in for 1 second, that is very important, especially as you're sourcing. At this point in your whole life cycle, you're still sourcing whiskey and bourbon from other places. So for you to have a direct hand in doing some things, whatever it is, if it's blending, bottling, I mean, blending is a big one. That is creating the profile for your brand altogether. But like just having more control when you're not distilling, I feel like that would be something I would need too, like just to have a level of comfort to be like, the product that we're putting out is something that we had a direct hand in, rather than, hey, we got these barrels, we told them what profile we wanted, everybody did it, and then we just put our name on it and sent it out.
I mean, there's not been one batch from batch 1 to now across any product that we haven't been full on involved with. It's never been like kind of hands off. I mean, our process has changed considerably, especially since batch 1, which was an interesting batch. I mean, it was our first one. We knew there's going to be a lot of issues, and there was like not a lot of issues. There was like a ton of issues. But yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it. I think we love drinking bourbon. One of the biggest things for us is we have to like it. And now we have fun with that, but now it's the best part about it. We're like, when we like batch 7, I mean, heck, we had, now that we've even refined our, blending capabilities and how we think about blends and how we go about sampling barrels that are going to be included in batch 7. I mean, the sheer fact of like being ahead of schedule and sampling 10 different blends that could be batch 7, and then being like, okay, I like 2, 3, 4. And then I'm like, Danny, but 2, I'm not really getting the nose I want, but I'm getting a great body and a great finish. On this one, the nose is great, but there's no finish, or it's like a little hot. And this one, well, there's no body. And then be like, can we just tinker with that? Maybe. And I'm talking, it could be 1 percentage
loves that
point.
word, tinker.
Yeah. And that's a Zeke word. I got to credit it every time. Every time I say tinker, I got to go Zeke.
Zeke gets a penny every time you say tinker.
Yeah, Zeke, you're going to get a penny. It's like the round up thing. You go to Walgreens, you pay round up. You got to round up. But it's true. It's made us, it's incredible. And I think this is, like I said, I mean, it's only batch 7. I mean, so we're still, we look at this as a marathon, and we're okay with being open about our process and how we're doing it. And we think we're getting better at it, but we'll let the consumers be the ultimate judge of that. And apparently Zeke and John.
Don't go on us alone. We can't guarantee anything there.
We are just 2 jackasses with microphones, by the way.
Well, let's talk about batch 6.
Oh, you want to?
Oh, let's get into the weeds. Let's get into it.
Little hot. My favorite thing about it with Mike goes, like, it's like somebody told him yesterday the term neck pour. And so he was going to everybody. He's like, man, once you get past the neck pour, though, it's really good. Like, somebody used it in a conversation. That was his buzzword for 2 weeks. He's like,
And
man,
it was real timely too, because there was like an article about it. Was like kind of an article about. Wasn't there some like Vine Pair article about it or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, batch we had it, but I'll be honest with you, I really love batch 6 because I kept getting a lot of brown sugar, and once it opened up, I mean, that sounds probably like a broken record term, but I loved it. I got a lot of brown sugar. I really enjoyed it. We took that feedback to heart and said, okay, how do we take what they're saying and and really try to make batch 7 better? Let's look at the nose more. Let's look at that kind of initial pour.
Batch 6 went a little more like the rye barrels in the blend were kind of standing out. So like we went a little heavier on that. So it gave it a little more spice. You're a corn guy.
no,
right?
we're not heavy on the corn. It's more Zeke and I, and it's funny because our palates are misaligned, but we both kind of look for the same thing. But some of the things that are hot to me are not hot to him, and vice versa. So when our palates do align, that's kind of like the alarm bell, like, oh, something's kind of going on here. Thankfully, when we do a barrel pick, we happen to align, and then that's the barrel that we know is the good one. One of the cool things with your private select program is we can really go through and figure that out. If you are doing a Penelope private select, you are doing the blend. So you're going through those 4 grains, figuring out the percentages of what you're putting together, what works, what doesn't work. There are definitely some combinations that are a little more spicy than others and bring a little more heat than others. We have been doing this for so long now that we just really want something. And Zeke, I don't want to speak for you, so jump in at any point, but I think we're just in a period in our bourbon journey right now. We're just looking for crushers. And if it's not a crusher, we're kind of like, for me at least, I'm looking for a good mouthfeel. I'm looking for something that is a little bit higher proof, but I don't want that blazing heat of the higher. I want something that's a nice drinker. I don't really care about all that other stuff right now. I just want something that's easy to drink and has some flavor and has some mouthfeel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why Zeke's drinking a lot of Screwball right now.
Zeke did start this show off drinking Screwball.
I've actually been more on a Grammy Arnay kick, but I was just going to say, well, that and Chartreuse. Chartreuse is my new best friend, like leaps and bounds. I love that shit so much. But no, especially like heading in toward these summer months. I mean, it sounds funny, but I've been more ecstatic about finally getting back into some gins and mezcals. Not like I mix cocktails clearly, but I can throw something together slightly, or even have those, neat or chilled, and they're just a different pour and different type of enjoyment. And especially with the heat, I mean, at times it's just really hard to get into, I guess, what I would call a heavy, like full-bodied bourbon that's complex. There's enough rye that makes you think about it. It's viscous to where you have to chew it. It's just a whole lot of damn work. I mean, like Monday, I was up doing some picks with a group John and I are in, and we did Bullet and Buffalo Trace, and one was morning, one was evening. At both picks, a couple of folks next to me were looking at my notes as we're going through it. It's kind of like, thought you would have put more down on the paper, and I'm like, no, man, like 3 words, all I need. Like you're not going to get descriptors out of me. Don't expect like a sentence, much less a paragraph. Like good, bad, ugly kind of shit. Like this is moving here.
Zeke, that is what I love about you. I remember our first show with you, and you drank the 80 proof, and I think you had one word, and you just said, or maybe it was not one word, it was like Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
It's a good memory, Danny.
I have never forgotten that, because every time I drink it now, I think of fucking Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Well, that's the thing too. I mean, Zeke and I are similar that way. When we go on barrel picks, we're one word for each barrel. Like, what is the one standout word? So I might take 3 barrels and go like, number 1 is chocolate. Number 2 is mouthfeel. Number 3, it's like, what is the defining characteristic for each barrel? And a lot of people sit there and they'll do a barrel pick and they will like literally list out all the tasting notes for everything when you're picking a barrel. It's like, no, you have a limited amount of time in that rick. You go, you get the thief. You're like, what is the defining characteristic for B? Oh, all right. If you want chocolate and it's hot, okay, cool. Got it.
I agree. I think less. I'm not like I don't speak a lot. I don't like I'm a quiet kind of guy. But
that was super awkward.
Words are hard for me.
I'm the quiet type.
But I don't use a lot of words. So like when we do go through these barrels, I just use really simple, just single words sometimes. And I think you have to, especially when you're going through 100 and something barrels, because you just need to internally know what you felt when you tasted it, you know? And like, I know I've read other people's tasting notes and they're like sentences. And it's just like, nah, you just need to find what that differentiator is. And especially when you're going through like a single batch of a single mash bill, like hone in on that. And then you have certain words that describe the barrels and then you can figure out which ones taste alike.
Danny's like, barrel 3 makes me feel tingly.
Yeah.
I also feel like Danny's going to pull one of those little remember the movie The Little Rascals? And yeah, at the very end is like, actually, I have an extensive vocabulary.
No, it's like Jay and Silent Bob. The whole time he didn't say shit. And every show at the end, he's just profound knowledge. Like, fuck, I thought he was a mute.
That's me and Mike.
Jay and Silent Bob, they're comic book stores in my town in Red Bank.
Oh, man, I love those two. I call my best friend from growing up Lunchbox because he's just always kind of short and chubby.
Do you remember Clerks?
Oh,
yeah, I love Clerks.
I even saw Chasing Amy not long ago.
I watched Clerks with my parents when I was like 14. It was really hard to watch. Like I was like embarrassed. It was like an embarrassing movie to watch with your parents.
Mallrats was a great one too.
Crazy words.
Noise. Smoking weed, doing drinking beer.
That's a tough one to watch with your parents when you're like 14 years old.
I also love that like Ben Affleck and Matt Damon were very prominent in all of the Kevin Smith movies. For those of you that don't know, growing up in Boston, Ben Affleck was on this PBS show called Voyage of the Mimi. And he was a teenager. This boat based out of Gloucester went down to like the Mayan ruins, and you learned all about the Mayan ruins, and Ben Affleck was on this show. So when he made it big, I'm like, wait, Voyage of the Mimi dude's like a movie star now?
Danny, you don't remember? Do you remember Voyage of the Mimi? That was in our school curriculum when we were like sophomores. It came in. What were those big CDs called?
The Laserdisc.
Laserdisc. When we were, I think it was freshman year of high school. They're like, okay, we got this science class, and they would put the Laserdisc in, and you got Voyage of the Mimi. Not quite Criminal Minds, but it's binge worthy. That's, by the way, Netflix. Imagine Netflix just threw up fucking every episode of fucking Voyage of the Mimi.
Oh my God. I would love it. It would be so good.
It's actually a great show. It's a great show.
And then who would have known that Ben Affleck went from Voyage of the Mimi to the proprietor of Fashionable Man?
To wrangle this back in a little bit so that our 300th episode doesn't go 300 minutes.
We're only at 39 and I'm going to cut down from here. So don't worry.
Yeah.
I think John just cut out like 6 minutes of the last 8 minutes.
As long as all 7 of them were him, we're doing great. Not to be, I guess, too light on this, but I think we probably have a lot of bullshitting left to do and some seriousness. But we touched for a second on single barrel selects, and I guess is a bit of almost cliff notes, so to speak, and I'll let you guys fill it back in. It's essentially where groups, stores, whomever, as far as I know, get samples of all 3 of the mashes, which I'll let you guys go into more detail on, work on their own blends for those. Most importantly, I'll throw out there too, John and I have a couple of them coming out to this market very soon we're both proud of. My question, after you fill this in, or you can answer it before in case you forget, when these blends come in, because you guys have done this several times on a large scale, and then you see the ratios these folks have lined up for you to blend of your product essentially in this new way, how many times are you like, wow, that's amazing, I wish I'd thought of it, and or like, are you kidding me right now? Have they paid us for these yet? Because I don't know if I want to keep them.
No, I mean, the one thing we've always felt with our, going back to it, I mean, I think we started Private Select because I probably started in maybe early last summer. It'd be an occasional request like, oh, do you guys do barrels? And I'm like, well, we don't do single barrels because A, we don't have inventory. B, and we're a blend of 3 different bourbons. So we just never had the notion of a single barrel. And plus we at that time, we were still probably just 3 to 4 year. Our barrels are gradually getting older. So we said, okay, what's fun? And we've always looked at this as like immersive. Like everything we're doing, Danny and I in particular, we're like, God, this is so much fun. How do we take our experience and bring it to other people? And so we just said, like, we've always felt we've messed with, I was going to say tinker, decided to go messed, which isn't as good. I like tinker better.
No, tinker's better.
Yeah, tinker. So Danny and I have tinkered with all of these different blends so many different times. We decided to really take them, and we felt confident that there's a lot of different, like there's some good ones and there's some bad ones, but the bad ones we never felt like were like awful. Or the good ones we felt like they were just pretty rock solid from a blend perspective, assuming we picked the right barrels to go into the blend. That was the biggest thing, was you're not putting anything too off profile. So you had to have the right barrels. And that's where it all came from. We said we wanted to do custom blends, and we wanted to take the experience that we had from the first day we did it and let other people experience it.
No, it makes perfect sense. Like I said, I just wondered, like even when the sheet comes into the message, like, hey, we got together, we worked on this. Here's our blend. And you just kind of look at the numbers, like, ooh, I've tried something in those ranges before. Like, whoa, buddy, because we all have different palates. I'm not saying any of them are bad. I think if it were John and I, we would do the same thing. Like the 2 blends we did are day and night different. I think one's a very sweet, just go to town on it if you want to. One's a little more complex, methodical. I was in a big cigar phase at the time, and that kind of probably weighed heavier. But there's more of an oak back end presence to where you take a few breaths with it. You sit there. It's a slow sipper. And we liked that showcased the 2 different profiles in there. Kind of always wonder, like, you're still going to see stuff of like, oh, we tried that one night. Man.
Well, I'll be honest with you.
It's like
the more crazy they are, the better they are. I've been so shocked with some of the blends. I'm like, no way.
You can appreciate it for certain.
Whoa, that's good. Like, I just think the more creative it is, it's usually the better. It's usually great.
You can appreciate it for like why they blended it that way. Like, somebody blends some ratio and you're like, oh, like, yeah, I'm getting that, I'm getting that finish on that is probably why you picked that blend, Maybe it's not like all encompassing. It's totally like music where it's like, is there harmony? Like, is everything aligning up? Is there some sort of musical balance to it? And then after that, it's like, do you like grunge? Not to date myself. Do you like grunge? Or do you like?
Oh, you so dated yourself, dude.
Or do you like metal?
Like 1999.
Yeah.
Grunge actually didn't start till 1991, but whatever.
Fun fact.
Fun fact.
But it's like that, there's different types of music. And it's like, is that what you like? All right, that's cool. I can appreciate that because it has this characteristics. And, I like that.
The hardest part about blending is where right now, Danny and I's palettes are in different places. Just like you guys, different places. And, that's always changing. Are we kind of moving too quick? Like in the beginning, I think Danny and I would both admit it. We had very just easy, very simple palettes. And now it's just kind of like keeps trying to find something new and different.
So now you're getting basically free R&D out of this too.
Well, we told him that before. We told him on the last podcast.
Your line. That's your line.
Our palettes are changing too. Like Mike, and like
Mike used to love the 80 proof. He swore by the 80 proof and said he didn't like higher proofs. And now look at him. He loves the barrel strength.
Yeah. Just all high proof all day, every day.
But that is the evolution of a bourbon drinker. They get introduced to bourbon, then your palate is constantly going to change. And, my palate and my desire changes based off the season. When it's colder, I want a different profile than when Zeke alluded to it earlier. But I want to go back and talk about this private select a little bit more because y'all had asked us to do the blend for the state of Tennessee. And I want to talk about this because we had done a blend. Zeke and I were toiling over this for a long time. Our friends down in Atlanta BS and Bourbon ATL, even though they're from Brazelton, were
James, Bob, we love those guys. Great guys.
yeah. But they were talking shit for no reason. They wanted to make this a competition, and Zeke and I were kind of doing this whole thing and really being meticulous, going through trying different blends. There was just some heat that we couldn't get past. Whatever, and maybe this is a flashback to batch 6, but whatever we were putting in the blend there was something that just was off. Like if we kicked the wheat up a little bit more, there was one profile. Then you kick the corn up a little bit more, the rye up, and eventually we went to you and said, well, what if we cut the weed out altogether? Because I think that's where the heat's coming from. So we ended up doing that. We came up with the blend. And the distributor, because that's who we were doing the pick for, distributor loved the blend so much that they wanted us to do another one. Now, we ended up doing another one that was a different profile because we didn't want to do the same thing twice. BS and Bourbon ATL was not asked to do another blend besides the one that they did for their store. I want to ask you two right now, you've tasted both of these blends. Which one did you like better?
Guys, come on. Oh, that's a ridiculous question right now.
He wasted a lot of
It's
credit.
almost midnight on a Tuesday. I feel like I thought I was on Loveline. I'm not on.
I mean, this was a big buildup, but I wanted to kind of lull them. I was purposely talking longer to lull them to see if I could get an answer.
I love James. I love their pick was great with Daniel and Cork and Keg out there. I think they did a great job.
Now, James claims he did it all himself.
James, I don't know where to answer that, but
and do you know James actually brought a major league pitcher on that blend with him? He needed to literally call the bullpen because those two could not blend it themselves.
I'll let Danny go.
Danny doesn't have to go here. I think as soon as Danny heard that we wanted to go with 70% on the corn whiskey side, he was sold.
Danny loves the corn.
This is that thing where Danny and I really line up, and you and Mike line up in so many different ways. But as soon as the message thread said, we're thinking going 70 on the corn, F yeah. Done. Danny hasn't replied in 2 days. 2 seconds he chimes in on that one. Like, oh, guess he does watch the thread.
I'm not kidding you. I mean, I thought they were all really good.
Look at you being a politician right here. You know ours was better.
I'll tell you right now, but I say take it to the consumers. Let's see maybe we'll do a little taste off, blind tasting.
Well, I think the consumers have already spoken in the sense that we had a reorder already and they have not. I will say that Mike ordered these labels. I want to remind Mike with his New Jersey education that there are.
This is a no hold. This is a prison match.
There are two dads in Dad's Drinking Bourbon. So Dad's plural does not have an apostrophe. DAD apostrophe S is possessive. Like it is literally Dad's Drinking Bourbon. So for all of y'all that get this label and see that there's an apostrophe here, this was Mike. And when I told him about it, he originally tried to blame the label company.
For a split second. No,
you did it for a whole day.
And then I go,
would not have admitted that. I would still be using that line. Like, look, bro, we still
I botched that.
You didn't check the proof when it came in?
No. I am just not good at grammar.
That's like eighth grade English class, Mrs. Hyde shit.
That's not even 8th grade. That's like 5th grade. Like,
you know what's funny? I'm really good at like it's. I know when the comma. It is comma. Your. I nail your. I'm good with there. I nail it.
No, you're not good with there.
Actually, I'm not that good with there.
There was an email today.
Yeah, I'm not good with there. Okay. Scratch that. Move on. But by the way, I thought it looked good. Posture, we'll fix that. And you could maybe scratch it out on all the bottles.
You probably could because the labels suck.
I wasn't going to mention that, but like out of the 3 that I got, 2 of them came in very good and 1 was very hazy.
We're fixing that.
This is all stuff that, new brand. You guys are 2-3 years into this. You're figuring some stuff out as you go. Where to go for labels is one of those things that you're figuring out.
Yeah, but what nobody realizes behind the scenes is we doubled up on all the orders. So if any of our customers had an issue, we overnighted them new labels.
Right.
Except for Dad's drinking bourbon with an apostrophe.
Yeah, well, that's a grammatical error. That's a little bit different.
Oh, I got mine in, John. They didn't send them to you?
No, that's a good point, John. These are new products and these were small releases, and you start finding out sometimes the label scuffs as it goes in a case and travels halfway across the country. So on the next batch, we're going to fix that. Tomorrow, Mike, you got a
new
sample.
label for it.
Yeah, a sample came in. So we'll take a look at that.
I mean, this is the second version of these. So we're, I guess printing black ink on gold foil is a little bit trickier than folks anticipated, but we anticipated for that matter. We're trying to figure it all out.
But I think honestly, the good thing about you two is that you have been very honest and forthcoming from the very beginning. I go back to the first show that we did together, and you literally sat there across the table. We were all in person. And you said to Zeke and I, what should we do next? Tell us. We want to know, what should we do next? It was very endearing and it was very real. People realize that the two of you are kind of coming up with this as you go many times, and they root for you because of that, because you're figuring it out. There's a lot to be said about that you're listen, we're going to make some mistakes sometimes. We're going to hit home runs sometimes. We're going to figure it all out, but we're all going to do it together. And you two are just such good people. It's so easy to root for you and want both of you to win.
Oh, thanks, buddy. Are we calling it a night? Is that it? That's a good way to end it.
Drop the mic on that.
Yeah, you dropped the mic. But I'll be honest with you, man. It's like building a company is not hard. It's friggin' hard, man. So now we're getting into the operational side more, and building a brand it's hard. And I think for any even emerging craft distiller, anybody that's going through a change or anything, I mean, if they're not having growing pains, they're full of shit, to be honest with you. We work with a lot of these folks, and they're all dealing with some of the same things we're dealing with. And I think it's okay to kind of wear your emotions on, as cliche as it sounds, wear your emotions on your sleeve and just kind of tell it as it is. And I think for us, we don't have a long back history. And, Danny and I, we've always said, we're telling our story now in public, and we're okay with that. And that's who we are. And, we're just going to keep forging ahead.
And which private select did you like more, us or BS and Bourbon?
I liked them all. They were all great. I really did. I did. I liked every one of them.
Other finishes, you guys brought it up earlier. Anything in the pipeline that is at least close enough true fruition you guys want to tease us on?
Well, the big focus, so Private Select, we had our barrels for Private Select, and that is gone. When that comes back, I'm not too sure. It really just depends on when we find the right barrels for it. But for right now, I think Danny and I, our big focus, especially, it's actually been entirely our focus. I've got 5 different samples here, is our Toasted series. And we're still figuring out what Toasted series is. And so we've been shoring up just new oak barrels, all different chars. Chars go from 1 to 5 across medium and heavy toast across all those different chars. And we've been filling them up and just letting them go, seeing what happens with them. That's our big focus right now. Maybe that's our barrel program for a little while. It's something that we can do in-house. It's big for us. I was excited about this. I studied abroad in Spain when I was 21. And so I was very happy about these VDN barrels, these Vino de Naranja. And I said that in a Jersey accent too. But we have the VDN barrels. I think both, and Danny loves them. We're both excited about it. And we've got about 8 of those to run a test trial on.
So exactly what in the Sam hell is that? Because you said VDN earlier, and I thought you were talking about the clap or chlamydia or something.
Both.
So VDN is Vino de Naranja is orange wine. So it's an orange wine. They're orange wine barrels, and then we have a bunch of them, and we're gonna finish our bourbon in them. So I actually have a sample of the orange wine right here, and I'm just kind of mixing it with some of our. I actually just mixed it with some of our toasted stuff, and like the toasted plus the VDN is pretty sick.
The goal is to make a creamsicle.
Yeah.
That's what we want to make. We want to take a creamsicle and make that a flavor profile.
And that was your idea. You were like, hey, like, what if we put the toasted with the VDN?
The closest I ever got to that regarding alcohol was at Epcot and Disney and the Grand Marnier slushies you can get when you visit, France.
Yeah.
Oh no! Listen, I'm telling you,
you would get along with my father-in-law. He loves Grand Marnier. He takes Penelope and Grand Marnier and drinks them all night long.
I'm telling you, they have Jim Beam slushies in America.
What do they have in them? That sounds really good.
It's like lemonade and Jim Beam. I mean, do you need a lot more than that?
I didn't know it was lemonade. Yeah,
it's something like that. I don't even know. It was good. It was
just
really
Jim
good.
Beam on ice. Flushed up.
This orange wine though, like just goes well with our 3 mash bills because like fruits and citruses go really well with our mash bills, and you add in this orange like zest, it's unbelievable.
So is it like curacao or however you say it, that type of orange? And you don't have to be too specific. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it in a very ignorant redneck Northwest Georgia kind of way.
No, so they'll take orange rinds and put them in barrels and ferment them for the wine, right? So you get like this very like orangey wine. I
guess somewhat akin to like a limoncello type product.
It's weird because you don't see this wine in the United States. Like I cannot find a bottle.
To buy. It's not readily available.
You cannot find it. It's really prevalent in like in
Europe.
Mostly the south of Spain and Portugal. It's not really like around the world much. So the fact that we were able to get these barrels was pretty cool. It's delicious. I love drinking it on its own. Like when I first got a sample like a year ago, it was delicious.
I do love that you guys are trying to find stuff that not everybody has. You did the rosé finish. I don't know anybody that has done a rosé finish. And now you have like these orange cello type finishes. It's just unique and it's something different. So if you're going to do a finish at this point, there's plenty of places that have done a Madeira, a Port, a Cab Sav, a Pinot, all that type of stuff. It's like, do something different, stand out. And I think y'all are doing that.
I mean, personally, I think our mash bills and the way we blend our bourbon, I think, it has a different profile and I think it just blends different with things. So like our bourbon blends well with rosé, which is like an anomaly because honestly, like the first couple of rosés we blended were like horrible. And I think most bourbons out there don't blend well, but again, like the fruits, the citruses, that's what works. This like orange wine like really works. So like, I think we have a unique blend. So I think we just got to find what works well with it.
Well, Private Selects will probably come back later this year. I know you guys got to catch up on barrel strength. You got to catch up on 80 proof. So Private Select is probably later in 21, maybe early 22 for people that have not already got on board, unless the demand for the Dad's Blend is so high. Mike, Danny, we love everything you two are doing. We love the fact that you can kind of let your hair down a little bit tonight and enjoy our 300th episode with us and just kind of show the fact that we're friends and we give each other a lot of shit, but like we also respect the hell out of each other. And
300 episodes, man. Johnny and Z, I mean, I know how hard you guys work at this. Late nights. No.
I have really late nights. Zeke just shows up and drinks. I'm the one who's up late. Don't act like you're up late editing Dad's Drinking Bourbon.
I have late nights.
That have nothing to do with the podcast.
Zeke's a late night texter. I know he is.
You guys are unbelievable because I mean we'll be texting back and forth till like 2 a.m. like on a Monday.
And it's like rapid fire.
I literally sleep.
You can always count on you guys to be up.
Dude, I can text Zeke at 4:00 in the morning. I'll get a response in 2 seconds.
I literally probably sleep 1:30 a.m. to 5:30 a.m. That's pretty much.
Yeah, you're gonna kill my single game now. Just blew it up real bad.
And I got it like, and yeah.
Danny, I'm up late. I go late. I wake up kind of late, 8:00.
Nice.
There's days where I just roll through the night. I'm
Right.
just got too much on my mind.
We appreciate you all being on our 300th episode. We can't wait to see what else happens with Penelope Bourbon. We can't wait for you to come down again to Nashville. You are long overdue. I'm looking at real estate for y'all. I think that you need to just move the operations down here because all of the barrels are down here. And when you talked about having to move them up to Jersey for you to be able to taste them, it would be a heck of a lot easier if y'all were already down here. And there is also no state income tax in the state of Tennessee. Just an FYI, another selling point.
My wife, and she's not far away. So I'm going to say this. My wife did. She's good on the move, assuming Danny and Candace move.
Okay. Second.
Danny,
My
turn up your
wife.
volume.
Okay. Second, my wife is slowly getting on board. I've been dropping hints. Hey, we might have to move to Kentucky or Tennessee. She's okay as long as one, Mike and Carrie move, and two, if we bring her parents.
Done.
Yeah, Candace's parents are great.
Yeah, they're awesome. It's in the works.
We can go on a quadruple date. It'll work. Like
Quadruple date. Fuck yeah, dude, let's do it.
John won't be able to go that night. He'll have to watch the kid.
my wife will have a great time with y'all.
Yeah, imagine John's like, hey, come on, move down here. Oh, it's going to be awesome. We move down. John's like, oh, I can't hang out for another 4 months.
Nah.
My wife will go out with y'all. She'll have great time. She'll have a great time. I'll be home. But
well, we'll let you know how it goes. I mean, it's gonna be fun, and we'll give you the deets.
yeah. Anyways, go ahead and find Penelope Bourbon on all of the platforms. They are on Facebook. They are on Instagram. Penelope Bourbon. Find them in stores across the country. Find them on places like Sealbox. Find them on Mash and Grape. Find them on all other online retailers. They're at a bunch of places. You can find Dad's Drinking Bourbon on Facebook at Dad's Drinking Bourbon, Twitter at Bourbon Dads, Instagram at Dad's Drinking Bourbon. You've obviously found us on whatever podcast platform you listen to. Please leave us an open and honest review, just like we leave open and honest reviews about the whiskey we drink. Mike, Danny, couldn't ask for two better guys to ring in our 300th episode with us. Thank you.
Guys, thank you for having us. It's nothing but love. I love that we give each other a lot of shit, and it's awesome, man. I can't believe this is number 3 for us now. Thank you guys for having us.
Pretty soon you're going to be in the 5 Timers Club and you're going to get one of those velvet jackets like they do on SNL.
Congratulations. I mean, 300 episodes. That's amazing. You guys are unbelievable podcasts out there.
Congratulations to both of you. We love seeing good things happen to good people. Zeke, where else can the folks find us?
Good old Nashville, Tennessee.
Hopefully where Mike and Danny are moving. Cheers.
Ciao.
Love it, guys.